So many people say, I want a godly husband, I want a godly wife, or they look at people in ministry and say, I wish that could be me, or I wish that I could be married to somebody like that. But you really need to understand, like, if you are with someone who's an evangelist, or they're prophetic, or a pastor, there's a level of spiritual warfare that comes with that. So it's not about like, let me just marry this person and be pretty on their arm or she be pretty on my arm. You got to understand that there's going to be some warfare that comes against them. Any man of God or woman of God will tell you that when they go out and preach, there's often opposition. It can be in dreams. It can be, depression, just heaviness. Like you just have this heaviness just kind of trying to get you to submit to it, and you have to fight that feeling off. It's so many different things. And so if you want to be in ministry, know that that's going to happen. It's just not going to be a cakewalk. That's why Jesus said, take up your cross. But also, if you're married to somebody like that, you got to learn not to be in your feelings. You got to learn not to just be, in your emotions all the time, because say that they're dealing with that and they're trying to fight that off, right? And they have that weight. And then because it looks like they're kind of like maybe not in the best mood, you get offended by that. And then you add on to the weight instead of having the eyes to spiritually see, like, man, they're going through some spiritual warfare right now. They're dealing with some heaviness right now. Because the biggest trick of the enemy is to get you in your feelings. If he can get you in your feelings, then you're operating of a place of your flesh and you're not as sensitive, all right, to what is going on in the spirit. So people who are in ministry, who are, if you're going to marry them, you got to be an intercessor right off the bat. You got to know how to pray right off the bat. You have to know, like, I need to be not ignorant to Satan's devices. I need to be aware of the tactics that the enemy will use. Make sure that I myself am not being used by the enemy to steal my partner's joy, to steal my partner's motivation, making sure that, I cover them in prayer and I'm a source of strength. That's why the Bible says, that the wife is supposed to be a helpmate, but also obviously the husband, if your wife is doing ministry, you got to realize the enemy's going to come for her. All right. And not to take it personal. A lot of people, when they're ignorant to it, we don't realize, like, man, the enemy's coming at that person's mind. The enemy's using that person's family. The enemy's using that person's job to try to suck away their joy, suck away their peace. And so instead of you adding on to it, you got to learn to just trust God and hit the prayer closet. Sometimes you got to learn to just back off. Don't try to preach to the person. Don't try to force them to, to see it your way or anything. Just back off and say, I'm going to intercede on this person's behalf. A lot of you, don't understand that, right? You're with somebody and they're trying to do ministry, whether it's music, or whatever it is that they do. And so they're facing this level of attack. And instead of being a help, you're just adding on to it. And it's a lot of the times it's rooted in selfishness, it's rooted in pride, and it's rooted in ignorance, not being aware. And now I will say this, I don't want you to think that everything this person does, like if they have an attitude or wrong, blame it on the devil, blame it on spiritual warfare. But that's why you have to be sensitive. You have to be able to tell, like, is this just this person that, they're in their feelings today, or is there something deeper going on? So if you're a woman and you want to be with a man of God who's in ministry, you better have that prayer life where you can hear from the Lord and you can spiritually discern and see, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? I say woman, to the man, because I'm often thinking of like that pastor role and things like that. But, there's many women who are doing ministry, music ministry, preaching, doing evangelism, all kinds of stuff. So it goes both ways. Don't just sit there and be ignorant to it. Learn how to pray, learn how to go to war in the spirit, learn how to recognize that's an attack of the enemy. I see what you try to do. I see how you try to use my family. I see how you try to use me to come against that person, and it's not going to happen today. So be aware and be in tune of what's going on.